Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo.
Ready? Right.
And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. November 9th, 2021. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Brock, and with me, as usual, but more special today because he's a year older. Another trip around the sun. It's your birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to P-Dog Cariotti. How you doing, bud?
Definitely not more mature, that's for sure.
Oh, God, no. If anybody is watching this damn video, he's got the whistle. You took the scarf off, which is appreciated.
Well, it's hot in here, and I'm going to be sweating if I kept it on. So, how about this?
You're happy about that, I guess, eh?
Listen, an absolutely outstanding job by the referee. I mean, that was just that was. Oh, how loud is that in the mic? That's pretty loud, eh?
Mouchoirs for the terrain. Was it 12 penalties, 120 yards or something? Called against the Bears.
It was bad. We'll get into it just a little bit later, but the ones that I did want to mention the they called like 3 or 4 consecutive neutral zone infractions, and I just feel like they were ticky-tack. I mean, Robert Quinn's helmet was just above the ball or on, like it was just. I've seen a lot worse. And the way these defensive lines line up now, and offensive lines for that matter, it's so hard to tell, like what's offside, what's an illegal formation, who's being covered up. Like it's just for a guy who doesn't coach the offensive line or defensive line. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong. Can you explain to me what they were calling and why they were calling that? Like, what is a neutral zone infraction?
Well, that's somebody lined up offside. They're trying to get.
But the helmet over the ball. What is that?
Yeah, the ball is the line in the American rules. The ball is that line. So if you have something that's over that line, like the ref is not generally throwing a flag without giving some warning, whether it's before the play saying 45 back, or like there's some sort of communication there from the refs, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's borderline, they're saying, you know what, like next time I'm going to call you. And if the guys keep pushing it, then they'll call it. But it is tough. And it's sometimes it's harder to see because the O-line has such a bow in it, right? So the center's kind of right up there with the ball, but then the guards are generally back a few inches too. And then the tackles even more. Give themselves a bit more space, especially on passing downs, to allow themselves to be in a better position for pass blocking. That's a bit of an advantage they can. Plus,
sure.
Can't be, past the center's heels and stuff. So you can only go back. There's that, area that they're allowed to be in. And when you're a defensive end or somebody who's kind of lined up with a tackle who's not right over the ball, it's all about angles and perception, and either they're trying to get away with it or they're trying to get as close, as tight to that line. Every inch counts. Al Pacino said it best in Any Given Sunday. It's a game of inches. It's a 6 inches in front of your face. I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Oh, sorry. I used to be able to recite that word for word.
Anyway. Speaking of recite, I want to have a competition. Well, not just between you and I, but to some of our listeners too. I want to hear the best rendition of our opening credits. Wouldn't that be awesome? Can anybody out there who's listening, can you guys record it? And Brock and I will pick the best one and figure something out. Maybe you'll get $10 worth of Tim Hortons coffee for a gift or for an award. Brock and I will be the only 2 judges, along with producer Mike and producer Kurt, and we'll pick the best one. All you got to do, first of all, to achieve it, you have to nail every word. Okay, so that's for starters, and you have to sound like the guy that does our credits. What I'm talking about, by the way, is the our opening soundbite, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to 30 seconds.
We'll end the show with it, or we can play it in 25 or 30 minutes one more time
go on the podcast. Listen to it. There's a bunch of them. Listen to the first part of it. And actually, it'd probably be best bet if the guy who actually did the recording called in and got it, because I think it would only cost me about $5 to get it done in the first place. So $10 to be doubling his cost for it.
There you go. Right. How does it start?
Okay, let's move on.
Okay. All right. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out for my birthday. We went to see the Toronto Argonauts and the Ottawa Red Blacks, and I won't get into it. It was a good time. Good time was had by all. The game itself. Let's talk about the game itself. Close game, didn't mean anything to the Red Blacks. Obviously, Toronto, I guess now was playing Hamilton again this Friday or Saturday. I can't remember what day they're playing. It's for the East title, so it meant something for Toronto. It's hard to watch football games that don't have any meaning, like we're in the standings. I really have a hard time getting into it at all. I think it was a good game. We didn't watch much of it. It was kind of chilly. The CFL in general, again, struggling. Another week of low scores. Another week of, some pretty choppy football. So I guess we shouldn't expect much different for the playoffs. Do you anticipate maybe a ramping up of some quality football in the playoffs, or will this just get even tighter?
Yeah, you can't. It's not an overnight fix. The quality of play league wide, with the exception of Winnipeg, probably has been subpar. I think,
with the exception of Winnipeg, absolutely.
Has been subpar. As per previous years, it's not going to be a switch. It's just not going to happen overnight. And playoffs will be. I don't want to say playoffs, but you're a lot of new faces. A lot of guys have never been in the playoffs before. So is that added pressure, added stress, added whatever going to hinder them? Going to help them? Who knows? So it could kind of go one of two ways, but it's not going to be this random lights on and now it's going to be this high quality football. The games might be tight, but it doesn't mean it's quality football. Anyway, I'm surprised who even scored or what the score was in the Ottawa-Toronto game. We were counting more spilled drinks by knocking them over than we were probably before, and how many pocket dogs I could get back up from the refreshment stand. But hey, you got to feed the boys.
Hey, let me tell you, if you haven't been to a Red Blacks game, and there's some people who haven't still, the football game is like secondary to everything else, really, for us anyways. I know people sit in the stands and there's a whole other appreciation from that, and I love that too. If it was Saskatchewan Roughriders in town, I'd be sitting in a seat watching intently. But for the most part, my buddy Mike Ferreira and I got there 2.5 hours early. We went to a local pub called Irene's, which is up the road. We had some drinks and spirits. We were feeling good by the time we actually got to the game. I mean, it's the ambiance of Bank Street. Like, go and enjoy it. Spend your money at a local business. Support the community. Support the football team. And, this is their third consecutive, when I say losing season, I don't mean like 7-9. This is the third straight really bad season that they've had in terms of their record. Don't give up on them. We don't want to lose our football team one more time. I can't imagine that'll happen with Oseg, but it's just support the team. And they need a better direction. I mean, they fired, I can't remember his name again, Brock. Marcel
Desjardins.
I think there was some issues there with him and the perceived laziness and whatnot.
They fired another coach too, actually. I heard on French TV because
RDS?
No, not RDS, TVA. So I've been trying to brush up on my French.
Okay.
Anyway, coaches got fired for what they called francophobie. So apparently there's a lot of French Canadians and French speaking individuals on the Red Blacks, whether it be player or some of their staff and stuff. And I guess he was not necessarily welcoming to that. So
you got to be better, man. You got to be better than that.
Yep.
Half your audience is from Gatineau, potentially. What are you doing? You got to be better than that.
But you're right. Let's not lose the team. Even though they're not winning, that doesn't mean it's not a great time to go. So that's the one thing they've done really well. The atmosphere is really good. Yeah. And 7-Up.
It's the first time I've had a 7-Up in.
Since you were 12? I don't know.
No, legit, yeah. I found one today at Farm Boy, and I'm like,
what was the guy's name? The stick figure, and they had the T-shirt, make 7, and it was up yours. Remember that?
I don't remember that, but I need one of those. That's awesome. One more just quick note. Screw you, Travis Scott. And that horrific scene, that horrific concert where people were like basically shoulder to shoulder. I'm not even doing it justice explaining. They couldn't even move. I'm so disgusted with this guy. And this is apparently not the first concert. In that too? Drake showed up, but I don't think he knew what was going on, really. He just came on for a cameo. But I mean, if he knew Drake,
I know he's getting some heat anyway.
Sure. Anybody who was associated with that concert, I mean, the concert goers were hesitant to even have this guy in because he has a history of this kind of stuff and like, mocking security and this and that and the other. And people died, man. And I just, it's a concert for crying out loud, I'm just so disgusted by it. And I don't even know why I'm bringing that up on a sports show, but it's disgusting. Like it's the worst of humanity, like trampling people, not stopping the concert when people are literally jumping on the stage saying, hey, somebody's like, I think they're dead. It's really hard to comprehend human behavior these days lately. Too much TikTok, too much nonsense, too much stupidity, not enough common sense.
Well, there's that. I mean, again, they're the artists on stage. The real onus needs to be on the organizers of the festival, of the concert, of how things were laid out, how they were organized, how the security was put in place, all that kind of stuff. From an artist's point of view, they're up there doing their job.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility on the people who are organizing it to make sure it's all there. Now, you're the headliner. You're the reason that people are there and they're pushing to the front of the stage. Your voice carries a lot of weight. They're all there for you. So if you do address it and say, look, like, let's all back up or I'm going to stop singing until everybody is, able to stand up and breathe. There's something there for sure. But also, if we were to go through all the crazy things that happen at concerts and people saying things in his ear while he's trying to perform and people getting on stage and, whatever excuses, like it's tough to do. So an organizer or somebody should have maybe pulled the plug, and gone on stage and said, look, Travis, it's off until somebody fixes this or whatever. But anyway,
I guess he has a history of this though. And he was on the stage, like really just mocking the whole situation. And there were the paramedics there and he was like, get them out of here. The paramedics, right? And you hear him on the mic, just stuff like that. And I don't think he's a real genuinely nice guy overall.
And I would like to rewind 30 seconds and take everything I said back. Screw you.
No, that's not. No, I get 9 times out of 10, everything you said is bang on. I just don't think it applies to this guy in my personal opinion, but hey, what do I know? Let's get right into the pigskin. What a crazy week in football. Can we cue up the music?
Yeah. I should be. Actually, I was right on the page.
Producer Mike's at Subway. Meatball. What was your go-to Subway when you went to Subway back in the day, like more often than you go now?
Do you not remember? Again, this show is off the rails, but do you not remember when I had a roll? Subway used to use the stamps for
yeah.
And I was given a roll like this big. And it was when I was at Heritage with you.
Free subs?
I ate Subway every single day that whole year, and I was trading foot-long subs for somebody to buy me cookies and drinks and substitute that way. But I was in there to a point where I would eat a full sub. It'd be raining out. I'd be in the restaurant, and I'm licking, giving more stamps. I give them, it's still like wet. Like, give me another one. So I had everything. But on a budget, it was the meatball sub.
Meatball sub, no kidding.
Hands down.
I grew a liking to the tuna sub as I got older, but just recently I found out that I guess they tested the tuna and there's not a whole lot of actual tuna in it. So
that's the one. I was 400 pounds at one point, Pep, and I wouldn't touch the tuna sub.
It was the mayo that got me. Anyway, moving on. Okay, here we go. Pigskin. Before we talk about the what I call upset week, because there were some big upsets, and certainly we'll talk about the matchups coming up for week 10. But a couple of notable things here. Odell Beckham Jr. cleared waivers, so now he's a free agent for the first time in his career. You know how I feel about this guy. I don't think he's all that in the bag of chips like most people do. I've seen him play I've seen probably 3 or 4 Browns games where he was actually playing, and outside of the one game against Dallas, I think it might have been the year before the pandemic, where he kind of had a couple of nifty plays. I think he caught a reverse and he threw a pass, or it might have been vice versa. Outside of that one game, he's shown me nothing. Route running, not so good. Short arming, balls up the middle. Trying to one-hand grab stuff where he could actually use 2 hands. and just dropping passes and not being, body language says a lot, I find, especially when you got a young quarterback that like Baker Mayfield, where you're trying to develop some chemistry. I just don't, where does he fit? Like, where's a good fit for him right now?
My immediate reaction, and before the Rodgers news, was Green Bay, because that, counteracts two needs. Rodgers needs another weapon. It frees up Devontae Adams and it gives somebody, but it's coming from a guy like, again, this is pre-Aaron Rodgers news, a guy who is one of the elite in the league, who has a lot of clout, if you will, kind of like a Tom Brady, where it's like, hey, I want to go in, I want to be on this guy's team, I want to be catching balls from Aaron Rodgers, and you know what I mean? He's going to make me a great receiver. I got to buy into his system. Otherwise, I'm out. That kind of clout. An organization that's not going to put up with, the stuff he's been doing in Cleveland. And, there's only a few organizations that fit that bill. The Packers are one of them. Now with Aaron Rodgers issues, maybe not. So, I gone through, I think even KC might be one of those ones, with Andy Reid and Mahomes. And after Hill and Kelsey, like they have a significant drop off in terms of production and having another weapon. Again, we think KC needs another weapon. They really could use another one, a number 3 option. And he buys into that. He wants to be a contender. He wants to go in. I think OBJ is a great talent. He's just a head case. And, can you transform him like Brady did with Antonio Brown and say, okay, you bought into it and he's producing, and there's flashes of like the old AB, but for the most part, you don't hear a lot of stuff in the media and different things being an issue. He's just kind of bought in and he's doing his job. And if OBJ can do that, I think he's going to be pretty effective.
I don't see him anywhere near young receivers. Unless that receiving core sucks. So I could see him with the Chiefs were one of my teams. A good call. I won't rehash exactly what you said because that's exactly how I feel. The Bucks would be the only other team, but they don't need him. They have plenty. So he doesn't. I don't know how he works there if he wants to be the number 1 guy. You mentioned the Packers. I mean, that's a place that it could work. Again, he could legit be the guy the way they covered Devontae Adams now, and we'll talk about what the Packers are like without Aaron Rodgers. They're pretty bad. So obviously they need some more help. Where he would fit well. I know this sounds it's me with rose-colored glasses, but if he wants to be the man, Pittsburgh has nothing.
Did I not say Kansas City or Pittsburgh in my comment on the Facebook page? I just figured you would probably bring it up, or you would tear me.
Well, I don't like the player, and I like the team. So for me, it's not a fit. But I mean, in reality, they don't have a go-to guy. And Chase Claypool is not a go-to guy. He's a deep threat guy, and that's pretty much it. He runs poor routes. Deontay Johnson is basically a Fabergé egg. He's so brittle, and he's just he quits on routes, and I'm not a fan of him at all. James Washington is just out there doing aerobics. I mean, he's not even a factor. So, Pittsburgh would never. They're not. That's just not who they are. They would never even bring him in, although they should, considering they're 5-3. So that's an interesting team. I don't see anybody else really. Maybe the Seahawks. That's a pretty solid organization. He actually kind of fits their attitude. So, yeah.
The
Chiefs would be the best place for him. I think the Chiefs
don't need him. With Lockett and DK, they would probably benefit from maybe a bit more of a better tight end, maybe those kind of things, and their running situation is kind of questionable sometimes. But I thought Pittsburgh was a great fit not because of what he would do in the locker room for the receiving room, but more from the criteria I was looking at for him is a quarterback that is experienced enough, has had enough success that he demands the respect from OBJ. And as much as, I'll argue it sometimes, Roethlisberger's there. He needs an organization and a head coach that's been there for a while. Again, roots in the ground, confident enough to make those things, not deal with character issues and say, you know what, we're not afraid to get rid of somebody who's a problem. I mean, the Steelers have made that clear. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, doesn't matter how good you are. And those two are arguably at the time better than OBJ is right now. And you say, you know what, they're not afraid to get rid of you. and an organization and ownership that is, again, tried and true and stable. And I think that's where the Steelers and they don't have a bona fide number one, number two. So there is a need for somebody else that can step in. That's why I thought Pittsburgh would be a good fit.
That's a good call. I would argue Pittsburgh doesn't have a number two. These guys are number threes. There are 3 number threes on that team. They're not that good. So that's a good call. Just moving on to
they're all number twos.
Anyway. I got to tell you, the Aaron Rodgers situation, good news and bad news if you're a Packers fan. The good news, your defense was friggin' good. I mean, they held the Chiefs to 13 points. They did their job. The bad news is the Packers are like, I can't remember their record. I think it's like 5-12 or something all time without Aaron Rodgers. And the games he doesn't play, they average 14 points or less. Actually, it's less, which is lower than the 0-16 Browns and 0-16 Lions for their seasons. So without Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have no chance. Jordan Love did not look good. Jordan Love has not looked good. And if I'm the Packers, I mean, he gone at the end of the season. Is that your backup plan? Because if it is, I mean, you may as well blow it up.
Give the guy a game. Like, I mean, like, poor guy. It's one game. He lost by 6. He's not Aaron Rodgers. We know that. I mean, there are clips that Aaron Rodgers, people were saying when Aaron Rodgers first got in against the Cowboys, I forget who was saying that, but they're like, if Aaron Rodgers is the Green Bay's plan, like, they're not going to win a lot of games with this guy behind the center.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what they said when he first got in there. Give the guy some time. The poor guy, I mean, his mother's like basically hanging off the last row, not getting blown away in Kansas City. He's a little distracted, trying to figure out where his wife and mother are, way up. Like, give the guy a bit of credit. I mean, yeah, Casey's defense is not great. Sure, he should have been better. I mean, he gets some of those throws dialed in, and he's a lot better off than he is. He missed some throws. Those are, I mean, you're going your first game. You're not planning on playing against Kansas City. You just have an idiot who is now not allowed to play and kind of screwed you over. Now you're thrown in the fire against a team that, is still a dangerous team. And you potentially again, it's a 6-point loss. Anyway,
well, looks like Aaron Rodgers will be back this week to play to host Seattle, and Russell Wilson was cleared to play, so he'll be starting. So that's going to be
cleared to play. Is Rodgers actually going to be cleared to play?
He should be okay. I think Saturday's the deadline day, so as long as he tests negative, he should be fine. So we'll see what happens. He is going to come back. He's not going to get suspended for any of this stuff. So, and I don't really want to go into the whole. I had a couple of notes about his appearance on the Pat McAfee show and some of the things he said, but really at the end of the day, he kind of fooled everybody when he said I'm immunized and not vaccinated, and the way he termed it, he took full responsibility. I'll give him credit. He's like, I shouldn't have used those words. I should have just told come clean. But the entire organization knew his situation. The NFL knew his situation, so he wasn't hiding anything. I think it's just coming out now, and it looks bad. But whatever. I mean, I have no idea. He said something about he was allergic to the AstraZeneca vaccine, and the J&J also proved to be. It could have been hazardous to his health potentially, so he couldn't take that. And he and his doctors and the organization decided to go this other route. Well, just say that. Just say it. And he even came out and said, like, the right wingers are gonna praise me and the left wings are gonna crucify me. I don't care about either side. It's not about politics. This is about a decision I had to make. That I respect, but like, just come out and say it. Right? Because you risk having this situation where everyone's questioning whether you're lying and this and that and the other, and you're already perceived as a kind of an arrogant guy anyways. And it's like, why put yourself in that position when you can just, douse the flames right from the start and say, this is my situation. I'm going to play unvaccinated, but I'm taking this therapy that's supposed to help because I'm allergic to the vaccines, which is a thing in the world. Like some people are. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Have it come out this way, where you're.
Well, you sound like you're contradicting yourself by saying, "Yeah, I'm fully immunized." Well, to the average person, that sounds like you're vaccinated. No,
to the average person, yeah,
yeah. So anyway, all that to say, he'll be back.
do something with Joe Rogan too, like try and get
Sure.
medical. Anyway, if that's what he's following, I don't know if you saw Joe Rogan on the UFC. No, you didn't. You were too inebriated to show up to Curtis's place, but it was a good UFC.
You.
And Joe Rogan does not look healthy. But anyway,
Joe Rogan, I gotta tell you, if I've ever listened to 5 seconds of Joe Rogan, it was by accident. Anyway, moving on to upset week. What a week in the NFL. I'm going to start with Denver beating Dallas. I don't think anybody saw that with Dak Prescott coming back, but Denver laid the smackdown 30-16. They're 5-4, hanging on after a tough, I think it was a 3 or 4 game stretch. I say this is an upset. You?
yeah, but when you're like, let's start with the one that nobody saw coming. Denver and Dallas. Like, there's something that can happen there. If you want to start with the upset, you go with Jacksonville, Buffalo off the top and say,
we'll get there.
There?
We'll get there.
Anyway, the Broncos look phenomenal. Like defensively, they look really good. I mean, this is a Cowboy team with Prescott. You know, you said, Brock, put your Power 5, your top 5 teams together for the show. And like, it is just destroyed. My last lists are just completely off. Like, some of them are dropping just out of, again, from this week. You're just like, well, how does that happen? You can't lose like that. You can't lose that bad. You can't lose, at home to a team, that badly and expect to still be on that top 5 ranking. It's there's a lot.
I'm going to go, we'll talk about the obvious last, but I'm going to go with the Giants beating Vegas. It's an upset for me because Vegas is leading that division in the West. Vegas is a hot mess. I mean, obviously we know what happened with Henry Ruggs, but also their other first round pick in 2020, the DB, his last name was Arnett, I think. He gone. Some questionable tweets and some behavior, and he's gone too. So their whole 2020 first round is gone. And that's in turmoil. That an organization is in turmoil, and the John Gruden situation, it's a mess. Can they keep it together? If they're able to keep it together, that coach deserves to be coach of the year.
And what's his name?
Well, I couldn't tell you
exactly. Yeah,
but he's going to be coach of the year if he can keep that hot mess together.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, but
it's not a strong. I mean, I guess it is a strong division, but they're also kind of sitting at 5-3, 5-4. It is a toss-up. So if there is a year where they kind of go mediocre and still be in it, this is the year for them. I mean, this could be the year. But when you talk about talent, I think they're the most talented of all the bunch. Some people would argue the Chargers. I'd say no, the Raiders have all the talent. I mean, Raiders have a top 3 tight end. I like Hunter Renfrow on the outside. I liked Henry Ruggs. I mean, now what are they going to do? Who did they pick up? They picked up Deshaun Jackson. So we'll see if that helps at all, or if he even gets on the field. He's always hurt too. It's going to be pretty interesting.
To be down the field, they just need to stretch and bring a safety's attention deep. And Hunter Renfrow is going to benefit a lot from that, I think. And
no doubt,
smaller underneath, but they need somebody to stretch the field, and that's what Ruggs used to do. I mean, he was fast at driving and running, but it's anyway.
I'm going to put in the old Cleveland beating Cincinnati 41-16 after Cleveland taking a really, they took a beating in the media. They had lost 2 in a row. The Beckham situation, the way they lost at Pittsburgh, who didn't even have a kicker for the second half. To come out and beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati 41-16 says a lot about Cleveland's character. I got to give them credit. And also, since he's in trouble, that's two losses in a row to the Jets, and now at home to Cleve. Maybe we should stop the parade. A couple weeks ago, everyone was talking about them being the hot pick and stuff. Well, pump the brakes, everybody. It is the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals going to Bengal.
Bengals going to Bengal. Lions going to Lion.
Right? Brownie's going to Brown. Browns are going to Brown. They'll blow up twos at some point. So
Burrow has not looked very good in the last couple outings. I think that's been evident, but his play needs to be extremely better for them to be competitive and in
growing pains.
It could be, you know what I mean? Like, again, this is his second year. He was hurt a lot last year, so the guy has a lot of talent. He has a lot of ability, but he's going to see things that he doesn't recognize. He's going to see things that doesn't compute right away, and he's going to learn from them. But, these last couple of games are, again, you win or you learn. You should learn when you win too, but he's learning in those last 2 games. Kudos, like you said, to the Browns. That's a significant addition by subtraction that's going on there.
Amen.
And exactly the way they did last year, where they produced without OBJ, and you say, you know what, he's not needed here. He's probably a hindrance, even though his talent. And we thought, if he comes in and he buys into the system and swallows his pride and says, you know what, this is where we're going to be, and I want to be part of it, then he'll fit in. If not, and he wants to have his dad have video clips of him being open and whatever, so be it. I did watch that video, and he has some points, and these are things that are generally going to be addressed in the film room, of when balls should be out of your hand and hitting those windows. And I think it's Shannon Sharp that was really talking about Baker Mayfield and saying, like, you're an average quarterback and you can't.
Steve Smith, the receiver, Steve Smith, not Stephen A. Smith.
Right. Yeah, not Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith got reamed by what's his name? The little kid played for Duke and he played for Chicago. Now he's like
Jay Williams.
Jason Williams, that's right. On how Stephen A. Smith reacted, and comparatively speaking, the Rodgers incident and the Kyrie Irving, and how he was very much harder on Irving and what he's doing and what he's not doing versus Rodgers, and then Williams going off on how, Kyrie's not doing anything against anybody. He was honest from the beginning. He just pulled himself out, this and that, where Rodgers is putting other people in, in danger, I guess, to a point. And
anyway. I would say that if you compare, that's an interesting comparison. I don't think they match up well, though, because I think Rodgers, if we take him for his word, he couldn't get vaccinated, and he said, I would have totally gotten vaccinated. He wasn't shy about it. He's like, I'm not against vaccines, and I'm just against the ones that hurt my body because I'm allergic to them, or whatever the case is. If he's telling the truth, that's the key. That's the key. Kyrie's just like, I'm not getting vaccinated because I don't want to. And it's like, well, 90% of the rest of the world has to protect each other. And so you're just riding off the coattails of everybody else at this point. That's my philosophy. I'm not, whether you people believe that's right or wrong, that's for them to decide. But
these are our listeners, not you people.
Hey. I kind of miss him. We'll talk about him some other time. But I do miss him. I miss him on I don't watch the intermissions anymore in hockey. And not that I even watch hockey at all, but when I did, I would watch for that 2 seconds of him and Ron McLean. You know what I mean?
Oh, for those who don't know, and I just caught up actually just now, that's a reference to Don Cherry. His comments that ultimately got him let go from CBC.
Would have been about 2 years ago, I guess, because it was Remembrance Day, and he was talking about the poppy or something, was he not?
Yeah, I think he was.
Oh, Donnie boy.
Again, Donnie is I don't know.
He'll be on the show.
He'll be right.
He'll be on the show next week. We can ask him. Okay, moving on. Two more upsets I want to talk about. Tennessee manhandling the Rams, I think, is an upset. Just the way they played without Derrick Henry.
Yeah, extremely impressive. The Rams were my power team last week. I thought that when they pick up
Von Miller, who didn't play.
Von Miller, yeah. Which that helps a little bit, but Von Miller's not going to change the outcome of the game to that degree. And again, when you have Derrick Henry out, Travis Henry. Remember Travis Henry? He was really good. Anyway,
I do remember Travis Henry. He's arrested for drug trafficking across the border.
Good job. All right. Is it that Travis Henry? Yeah, the
running
Bills and the Tennessee Titans.
Brilliant.
Yeah, if you'd have said, "Look, Von Miller's not playing, Derrick Henry's not playing," that probably is worse for Tennessee than it is for the Rams.
Yep.
And the Rams still lost Tennessee, so kudos to them. They're beating some quality teams that I just did not think they had in them. Their defense is playing really well, and to stop, an offense like the Rams that has a ton of weapons and, spreads the ball around. And I don't know. I like their style and the fact that they were able to sort of keep them in check is something else. Now, I didn't get to see the game, so I don't know how good Adrian Peterson did. Was he running the ball at all?
Not really. They had their McNichols or some other backup.
Yeah.
They kind of sprinkled in the run. They were consistent with it, but their defense was getting after it. Their front four were getting on top of Stafford. It was pretty impressive. So good. It was a
pretty low. Foreman was their top rusher with 29. McNichols 24 yards and Peterson 21.
Yeah,
that's essentially it. Derrick Henry gets that production alone in the first half.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a good mix of play action and a couple of opportunistic throws downfield and some good defense. So good on Tennessee. They could beat you any way they want these days, which is impressive. And then my last upset, the obvious one, was Jacksonville beating Buffalo, and now, in my opinion, leaving the Houston Texans all by themselves in the toilet bowl. So congratulations to Jacksonville. It was a big win. We were talking about them as a controversial team a couple weeks ago with the Urban Grindermeyer stuff going on, and that all that nonsense and him losing the room and stuff. Nice bounce back, and Buffalo was arguably the best team in the AFC for the first couple of weeks after the Steelers loss.
Did you get to see any of this game?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
What'd you watch it on? I looked for it because
I streamed it. I was just bouncing back. The Steelers game was on TV, and I was watching on the Buffalo game on. It just didn't. Jacksonville just pinned their ears back and came to play, and it was one of those games where the only team in the last 25 years to really not lose any games they should win have been the Patriots. Every other team that I know has laid an egg once. Look at the Packers, even just this year, the Packers, of week 1, laying an egg to New Orleans. All these top teams are going to do it once, except the Patriots when they had Brady. I don't recall him ever losing a game he should have won. I know there was a couple of Chad Pennington-led Miami Dolphin teams that I think beat them on the road once, but they were good wins. They weren't like upsets.
Yeah.
So I would consider this a little bit of reason for concern. I think the secondary talent on Buffalo, they might need to address it before the next couple of weeks. I don't know. I don't. Emmanuel Sanders is not a spring chicken. Cole Beasley is beat up. He takes a lot of hits. And then you're looking at guys like Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox, so they come across like they're like high powered, but there's not a ton after those guys, So it's Stephon Diggs and a bunch of guys that are second and third, options on most other teams. So do they look at bringing in a guy like Odell Beckham, or does he ruin that locker room, which already seems to be pretty fragile with Cole Beasley and all that?
It's actually a good question. I thought Sanders was okay from a number 2. I don't know. I think that the thing with the Bills for me is that Josh Allen doesn't bring that established dominance, or however you want to say, confidence. He's confident, but he doesn't bring the same juice as an Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, even Mahomes. Although he's young, Mahomes does have a Super Bowl ring and $500 billion. Josh has a real good paycheck and stuff too, but at the same time, I don't know. It's just something that didn't sit right from a Bills addition or possibility. But at the same time, now I think about more, like Josh Allen's got a cannon. Mm-hmm. So if you put OBJ and start getting him sort of loose in the secondary, that could be really good. But that's the thing is the coaching staff, able to sort of keep reins and make sure that he's coming in with the right thing and not be afraid. That's the key, is not be afraid to pull the plug as soon as you see it not working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Run the damn ball. You got to run the ball in the NFL, guys. Look at every team that's won the Super Bowl in the last 100 years. They run the football well. You have to do it enough to be a weapon. Jacksonville just basically said, you know what? We don't think you can run, period. So their defense, they were in a nickel and dime the entire game, and I don't even know if nickel's even a thing anymore. It was like a dime. They had two linemen and a bunch of DBs on the field, like beat us running. And I don't think Buffalo can do that very, very consistently anyways. I mean, they have their moments. Their guys are talented enough, but get under center, throw a big package every once in a while. If it works, throw it again. You gotta I don't know. You gotta show run. There's something that's really, and I think it might have been Brian Greasy yesterday talked about Ben Roethlisberger under center and handing off the ball to Najee under center versus from that shotgun. He said the running back comes at you a lot harder in that perspective because he's got a running start. And it looks different. You gotta make as a defensive player, you gotta make a decision whether he's going A gap, B gap from that position. If he gets the handoff from the backfield, you have a second or two as a defensive player to figure out where it looks like he's going this way. You know what I mean? No matter what the offensive lineman's doing to you. I just think the Bills need to do that. They're too predictable. And it's only midseason and teams are sort of already catching on. So we'll see what I think it's Brian Dable is their offensive coordinator. We'll see what he dials up, but get under center, run the football.
Well, playoff football, I mean, especially
in Buffalo. You kidding me?
It's going to be
snowy,
cold. You're not going to be able to throw the ball all the time. The weather is very sketchy. You got to be able to creatively get the ball down the field by running it. And a big package, muscle downfield, but at the same time, you have a huge advantage in that your quarterback is massive, is fast, athletic. So why don't you, go empty, and bring it out. So it's 5-on-5 and you have Allen back there. You're going to earn your $200 million.
Yes. I couldn't agree more. And that's part of that is, being unpredictable. Try to be unpredictable. They're getting too predictable. And Jacksonville dialed up the right stuff. They only scored 9 points. So it's not like Jacksonville was out here, running roughshod. Like they just hung with them long enough to be able to figure it out. So, I mean, that's a problem for Buffalo. If I'm a Buffalo fan, I'm not overly concerned. I would be. This is a perfect segue, by the way. I would be if they lose to the Jets this week, which are part of my Week 10 matchups to watch. I know it sounds crazy, the Jets, but hey, the Jets played well against Indianapolis on a Thursday night, prime time. It was with Josh Johnson under center. Josh Johnson, the third or fourth string guy. Yeah, Josh Johnson. I think.
Mike White will be back this week. I think. I like Mike White. Mike White, isn't it?
Mike White, if he is back this week, I mean, Josh Johnson threw for 315 yards and a couple of TDs. I mean, there's some stuff going on in New York that's pretty impressive. They're hosting the Bills. I mean, I don't know. The Jets aren't mathematically eliminated. They've got 2 wins. I don't know. It's one of those games where it's like, Bills better win this one. I mean, this gets really hairy if they don't pull this one out. So,
what were the Bills? The Bills lose to the Jags because they were. It was a trap game. They were looking at the Jets already.
Maybe they were looking past both these teams. I don't know.
Colts in the next week. Colts, Saints, Patriots. Once they get past those 2 games, Colts, Saints, Patriots, Bucks, Panthers, Patriots. There's a few, and the Patriots are coming on pretty strong now too. So
we'll talk about them in a minute because that's a sexy matchup this week. That's my sexy matchup of the week here for Week 10.
I don't have a sexy soundbite,
but I'm only putting this on because it's an 0-for team playing my team. But I think the Lions at Pitt. I mean, this could be either Pitt can keep rolling and end up being 6-3, which would be a nice number. Or they could lose to the lowly Lions and completely derail their season. That'll be a bad loss. But hey, the Lions 0-for on the road in Pitt. I'm going to go with Pitt. Falcons at Cowboys, Brock. Interesting because the Falcons are 4-4 and they're suddenly winning these close games the last 2 weeks. Last minute field goals. We're seeing the Falcons culture change a little bit instead of losing all these games. You think they have a chance going into Dallas?
The way Denver played against Dallas, see, the thing is, when teams have success against another team like that they shouldn't have, the Falcons right now are analyzing that Broncos footage left, right, and center. They're looking at everything they did, and they're going to see how and if they can implement the same system with the athletes that they have in their locker room. So the Cowboys at the same time should be addressing, although the Falcons have their, systems that they're using, they need to address what the Broncos did and how to counteract that, because they should know that the Falcons are going to come out with something adjusted to look like what the Broncos did.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't think that the Falcons have the same athletes that Denver has. I think Denver overall, their locker room is a little bit better than Atlanta's. But that being said, the Falcons are dangerous. And, when you start using and figuring out how to use a guy like Kyle Pitts is going to give you nightmares on the field. He is a matchup nightmare, and they're finally starting to figure that out a little bit. And if he can, get some extra coverage, then that takes a lot of like the aggressive linebackers that the Cowboys have who, would normally play the run, are going to be a lot more distracted by this monster running through the middle and getting open. So it's going to be, a few more RPOs and options of saying, like we're going to make the linebacker be wrong. But the Broncos did some really good things. So I think if the Cowboys don't figure that out, they're going to get exposed throughout the season. And the Broncos footage is going to be something that every other team has, and they're going to be analyzing it.
The Falcons, Cordero Patterson looks like he's finally found a home. Like he looks good there. They're using him every way. Like he likes being that Swiss Army knife kind of guy, but he's big. He can run. He's catching balls, which I love the fact that they're using him as a receiver, because he can definitely be a great slot man at his size. With him and Pitts and Ridley, I mean, that's some stuff, that's some stuff that most teams would envy. So, hey, who knows? Seahawks at Packers, we kind of talked about it. I think that's a very interesting matchup now that both quarterbacks will likely play. This suddenly becomes a big deal, especially for the Seahawks. Packers seem to have that division. The Vikings lost a tight one to the Ravens. Bears look out of it. The Lions they're just pathetic. So, I think the Seahawks have more to play for here than the Packers. But hey, Packers don't want to lose 2 in a row. Who you got? Seahawks in Green Bay.
I have Green Bay for that one. Green Bay is right up there in my power rankings. The fact that they just lost to KC with Jordan, I'm horrible in my first start, hopefully I'll be better, love, goes to show that their defense is pretty good this season. Now, I know Kansas City's offense is not where it used to be and stuff, but still, there's a lot of weapons, and you can get torched with KC very quickly if you're a sub defense. And the Packers are playing right up there. Their defense is really good. And just that alone, then throwing Aaron Rodgers back in the mix, who knows? Maybe OBJ signs before that. He won't, but
unlikely. The Browns and Patriots this week. That's a cool matchup. We got the Patriots who are playing good football. The Browns are in New England. I think I'll give the edge to the Browns because they can run the ball and maybe control the clock. But the New England Patriots defense in the last 3 weeks has been the best in the NFL. Enough said. That
was 3 weeks ago where they traded away their best defensive player to the Panthers,
Carolina, and they destroyed Carolina this weekend.
Yeah.
The Patriots, they're playing rough. They're playing physical, which is exactly what Bill Belichick has always been about. This front four, physical, big, strong, and linebackers who can tackle everything in sight and not get blown coverage. And, of course, good, solid, consistent, safe guys in the back end. It's a perfect Bill Belichick defense. We talked about it in the preseason about how they're getting all these guys back from the COVID lists. The guys that opted out last year, they're all back, and they're all playing exceptional football. I wouldn't want to play these guys. Their offense is kind of figuring it out, but their offensive line is physical. The 2 lines on that team I would put up against pretty much anybody in the AFC. That's scary for the AFC, and they're not going away. They're just getting better. So, interesting game.
Interesting game. Are you going to hit the Sunday nighter? That's the game that I'm excited for.
The Sunday nighter is it's not. I had
at Las Vegas.
Yes, that's my last game. I had the Chiefs at the Vegas. That's an interesting game because I mean we all know the sideshow that the Raiders are, but I mean the Chiefs need to stay on pace. I mean they can't afford to lose any more games really.
It's a divisional game.
Yeah.
It's playoff implications are written all over it. It's two teams that are, I'd say, hot to a point.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, KC, even though they won a few, it's hard to say that they're hot because a hot KC team should be fighting for the 16-0 record probably.
Yeah.
But Las Vegas, through all the ups and downs and turmoil, they're still playing pretty hard. So it's a rivalry game. This is a game that's you tune in for on Sunday night. That's for sure.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great game. I don't know. I don't have a beat on it. I think KC goes into Vegas and beats them just because of just on stability alone with all that's gone on with the Raiders the last 3 weeks. It's going to catch up to them. It already caught up with them last week. I think it'll catch up with them again this week, and we'll start seeing the Raiders sort of fall by the wayside here as we move along. I hope I'm wrong. I like Derek Carr. I'm
taking the Raiders. I think the Raiders at
band
home
together
against a KC team. Again, all that turmoil the last little while, it's something they can rally around.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what happens between now and then, and if there's communication with Ruggs and stuff like that. That's just kind of like, let's rally around and we're gonna do whatever we can. I think I'm gonna take the Raiders at home.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ottawa's top doctor, Dr. Vera Etches, clearly has been eyeing Mark Davis's hairdresser.
I have not seen it.
Oh my God, Dr. Etches, you're better than that. You're better than that, girl. It's the perfect bangs and she's got a little bob. It looks awful, and I mean awful. Thank you for all that you do, but your haircut's terrible. Just terrible. Oh yeah, huge buzz cut for.
Well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect. I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake.
That's perfect. Perfect timing. Let's go into our power rankings to finish off here for our NFL talk. I'll start. I got at 5, I've got the Rams still. They've slipped down. I think I had them at 2 last week. At 4, I have the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think Colt McCoy can duplicate that same. He played really well this week.
Where are you out for?
He may be out for another week. It's a high ankle, so you never know, right? He's supposed to be out this week, but who knows? He could come back and play. He just won't be as mobile as he usually is. I have the Bucs at 3 because they're coming off a bye, and I'm sure they'll be angry that they lost. At 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens because they just find a way to win. I mean, they were down 24-10 against Minnesota, and they just, hunkered down and, just play Ravens football. He can't stop Lamar Jackson, and he's throwing the ball all over the field now a little bit. I mean, his numbers aren't fantastic, but he's doing enough in the passing game to keep him honest. And then at number 1, I have the Tennessee Titans, who for the last 3-4 years, I've said I wish Pittsburgh would just emulate this team's offense. This is just the perfect offense. Mean, angry, grumpy offensive line and big running back. Looks like Pittsburgh's got the start of a running their own Derrick Henry, but their offensive line isn't quite there yet. So I got the Titans at number 1, and my 2 notables are the Chargers and Patriots. So it's an AFC heavy, 4 AFC teams and 3 NFC teams is what I got in my top 5 and 2 notables.
All right, so you got notables. All right, my notables are the Bucs.
Oh, no love for Tom.
Well, he's a notable. That's
no one remembers the notables. That's why
true.
they're notables.
Moving on.
I
got the Rams at 5.
Okay.
I got the Ravens at 4.
Oh.
What is happening? Yeah,
offsides.
I got the whistle in here.
Offsides.
Sportsmanlike. So what did I say? Ravens at 4. I have Cards at 3.
Oh, okay.
I have Packers at 2.
Man.
And I have the Titans at number 1.
For a team that scored 7 points this week, you got the Packers awfully high.
That's not
you-
Aaron.
Are
It's
you
Jordan
in with
Love.
Jordan Love? Are you with Jordan? Are you in with the Jordan? Like, is there something you guys affiliated with somehow or doing business?
Jordan Love is not playing this week. Am I right?
As potentially, it looks like by Saturday we'll know. Saturday will be the 10th day or whatever. So we'll see. Sorry, I missed your number one. I was too busy Jordan Love.
The Titans.
Titans, of course.
One of the Titans as well. The Titans
All right.
are winning in every facet, every way they can win, they're winning. It's not every facet. Not that they're dominating a team, but they find ways to win. I love their coaching staff. I love their offensive line.
Yeah.
The fact that they're doing it without Derrick Henry. Now this could change over the next few weeks, but if Adrian Peterson lives up to anything, he has the potential of doing a lot of what Derrick Henry can do. Is he going to break it for 50 after he goes through some people or through the holes? Probably not, but that's okay. They got other guys to do that, and they'll keep moving the ball. But the Titans look really good. And the Packers look good. They just didn't have Aaron Rodgers last week, and they only lost by 6 to a team that, I think was one of your notables, although I don't remember.
So that concludes our NFL for this week. We've got 3.5 minutes. I just wanted to briefly mention that the Anaheim Angels, what are they? No, are they the Los Angeles Angels? Anaheim Angels? California Angels? Well, they're one of those three.
A baseball team?
Yeah, they're pursuing Robbie Ray. Whether Robbie Ray wants to go there is a whole other story. But the team is definitely pursuing him.
Robbie Ray. You're like Robbie Way? Robbie Way? They want Robbie Way?
They want Robbie Way.
Okay, baby.
Robbie Ray. Sorry about that. Marcus Simeon, predictably, rejected his qualifying offer. Obviously, he's not going to take the first offer. He's going to hit for agency and see what he can get. So we'll see what happens. I don't think any of this is a surprise. I also heard that the Oakland A's are basically selling everybody to cut payroll. What's new there?
Moneyball.
But guys like Matt Olson, but he plays first base. He's a guy that I think the Yankees are looking at, and their pitcher Sean Manaea. I guess those are names that have come up as free agents. I mean, pitching. Hey, I'm always looking at pitching. I just don't see how Matt Olson would fit the Jays. Yeah. So it's early right now to be even talking until they have the winter meetings and stuff like that. I don't think there's a whole lot of
the
fire
fact
behind
that
it.
2 out of the 3 AL MVP finalists are on the Blue Jays is pretty cool.
Pretty impressive. And they have a backup plan. I mean, worst case scenario, they roll with the kids again. So it'll be fine. Quick hockey take. Carey Price came out just early this afternoon and updated everybody saying that he was indeed dealing with substance abuse issues related to mental health, which is why he admitted himself to a facility. So, I mean, I don't think there's any surprise to anybody, but the fact that he came out and, wanted to tell everybody that, hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm back. He's back on the ice. He said he was in the last 5 years, he's been into some really dark places, quote unquote. So, he's a very subdued guy. You never know what guys are going through. I think that's very courageous of him to come out and say that. So wishing him all the best. And, you know how it is to be a pro athlete. It could be really tough.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. Let's say, okay, you get to choose the outro song because it was your birthday.
Do I have a choice or am I just choosing it?
Do you have a song that you really like? You're like, let's go with that one.
Cardinal Official, the anthem.
Okay. I would like to send my regards to Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator for the Florida Gators, who got canned, and their offensive line coach, Hevesy, who also got canned. Good riddance. Beat it, because we lost to South Carolina, and I am not I'm not supporting of that. So I'm glad to see that they've got some confidence to get rid of some of these guys. I know Dan Mullen's very much, he's loyal and he keeps his coaches as much as he can. So I appreciate that, but it's just was unacceptable for how we've played and how the Florida Gators have looked this year.
Hey, if we're sticking with NCAA, just one quick note then myself. Gonzaga, consensus number 1. They have 2 of the top 5 players in all of NCAA basketball. Returning forward, Drew Timme, and 7'1" freshman, Chet Holmgren. He's a freak. You can YouTube him. You can do everything. He's a unicorn. He's like one of these. You can shoot, pass, do all these things at 7'1". So this isn't like 6'11" Luka Doncic. Is 7'1". So really multi-talented player. Looking forward to seeing him. They're going to be tough.
He just came out of high school?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've seen him play.
Very exciting player. Can do it all.
And the last thing I'm going to ask you, you've played a lot of basketball.
Indeed.
Would you say it's harder to play with the herniated disc or with the flu?
It'd be harder to play with a herniated disc, but Mr. Pippen forgets he sucked that game. So
Scottie Pippen for life. All right, we're going out. It's Cardinal Official, the anthem. This is for you, P-Dog.
Thanks, buddy.
Birthday.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and until next week.
T-Dizzle, oh, hot with the sizzle flow. It's cold when the airplanes land in the dot. Oh, home of the block, oh, patois and proper English. Rep it like it's my gang, that's why I sing this. Bleed red and white like Coca-Cola Classic. So people I know still have their couches in the plastic. Good people got blasted, so we pour a little liquor out and think about it while we blasted. Real figures here, never seen an Eskimo. Fronts in the wrong area, might let it go. Yeah, I love where I'm from. Every 2.5 million. Sing out. Rep it everywhere I go. Everybody from the coast. This is where we calling home. Chill. Rep it everywhere I go. Million people at your door. This is where we calling home. Chill, I'm from the depths of Scarborough, one ways of Vaughan Road, apartments in Flemington, shadows in the P.O. Every area repping the home team. My Italians hold me down, Africans same thing, Portuguese get it in, Filipinos rock with me. Enough Trinnies and Yachties holding the block with me. So many faces like we the Winter Olympics. Greatest city ever after dark, you better think quick. Club district, parking lot politicking. We got hotter women than any city admitting. We the number 1, check out the figures we getting. No apologies and never quitting. I'm from the T-Dot, reppin' everywhere I go. Everybody from the cold. This is where we calling home.